You're sitting down because I'm going to share something. I'm going to surprise you.
Here's the reality. I'm 41 years young, and I just started looking for a job again in a market that's overflowing with people, younger, faster, seemingly more qualified. And the very first thought that hit me, who is going to even want to hire me? And it didn't stop there. Doubts, fears, that voice in my head whispering, maybe I'm too late. Maybe I'm not enough.
Listen, if you are nodding along right now, you're not alone in this. Research shows that talented women are less likely to apply to jobs, especially higher paying roles, unless they feel 100% qualified. Meanwhile, men apply even if they meet only 60% of the criteria. Welcome to How to Get the Job with me, your host, Gedre, a project where we document our job search journey together. I speak to career experts, try their advice in real life while blogging, and share the results with you, the wins, the fails, and everything in between. Because here's the thing, if I can figure this out, so can you. And if you're ahead of me, please share your experience in the comments. Maybe something will help us all. Today's episode is about the very beginning. Where do we even start when we are trying to rebuild our careers? My guest today is Michelle Schafer, a certified career coach who helps people to return to workforce with clarity and confidence. Also, she's an author of a career growth book and a guest speaker of many podcasts. And if you feel unsure, behind, or stuck in your head about how I even begin, well, you are exactly where you need to be.
Michelle, most of us, myself included, start our job search by updating our CV and jumping straight into the job advertisements. But you believe that's not the best place to begin. And honestly, I'm curious about this because I've already spent, 6 months just trying to update my CV. Every time I see a job advertisement, I update my CV and edit my LinkedIn profile. Was that time wasted?
Yeah, that's such a great question, G. I'm glad that we're starting there because one of the first things I hear from individuals who are looking for work is very similar to you. I've got to update my resume. I've got to apply for jobs. And there's a big focus on volume as opposed to alignment, meaning I have to spray the marketplace with my resumes in hundreds of different places because chances are, if I apply to lots of jobs, I'm going to get an interview. And the reality in today's market is that that approach doesn't work at all. It actually has an extremely low return on investment. So, the work that you've done on updating your resume, updating your LinkedIn profile, I'm never going to say that that's time wasted because these are your marketing tools. Those marketing tools are going to be called upon when you apply for jobs, when you are talking to somebody, maybe having a networking coffee, some kind of one on one exchange. And people are going to want to see your resume. They're going to want to see your LinkedIn profile. So, updating it is always a good thing. The reason why I say it's not the very first thing to do is because I liken looking for work to going on vacation. Now, it's not nearly as much fun as going on vacation, of
No.
course, but there's two elements that are consistent to going on vacation and looking for work. One is you need to have a destination. Like, can you imagine going anywhere on vacation and not knowing where you're going to go? I mean, maybe it's a bit of an adventure, but it makes it a bit hard because then you don't have a plan as well. And that's the second element is when you go on vacation, you're going to want to make sure that you book some hotels, maybe book some tickets to different attractions that you want to see. When you're looking for work, you also need to have a plan. And so when you jump ahead of those things and you race to update your resume, it means that you're skipping an important foundational step, which is reflection. And when we don't reflect, it means that we could race into jobs and apply for jobs that might not even be a good fit for us at all. Like, I'll give you an example, G. Right now, I'm working with a client, and she's held some very, like, senior leadership position, and she lost her job a number of months ago. And the thing is, she doesn't want to just do the same jobs that she was doing before. She's realizing that she has lots of, I'm gonna call them transferable skills. So these are the skills that you've built over your career that are portable to different roles, to different sectors, that are sought after by other organizations. And one of the things that she's realized in this period of reflection is she wants to do more consulting work. And one of the things that is interesting her now is doing like more fractional executive work as opposed to going to work full time. What she realized is her resume and her LinkedIn profile doesn't need to tell the story of just simply what she's done in the past. It needs to tell the story of where she's going, of the problems she loves to solve, transferable skills she has, of the kinds of organizations she likes to work with. So, what she was really doing, even in her resume, is communicating her target. She was marketing herself for what she wanted to do, not necessarily what she had done already, which is why that foundational step is really important. Like when we hit the pause button and we take a step back from our career, we can reflect on what's important to us that's going to drive where it is that we're going to go.
Wow, crazy. And I bet there are listeners right now who are also nodding along because they've been updating their resume for months but haven't actually applied to anything
Yeah.
because they don't know what they want. Maybe you can sum up what are the most common mistakes people, me, and the listeners make when we are where we are out of job and now we need to find a job.
I would say number 1 is panic. When we're in panic mode, we're not making clear decisions. We don't have any kind of a plan. It leads to the focus on volume. LinkedIn kind of makes it easy for us to stay in panic mode when we're in a job search. There's that easy apply button, and it takes that whole job search process to take seconds as opposed to something that takes some thought. So I see that's a big mistake, is like staying in that stress mode, focusing on the volume. And then the other part is not taking that time. It's the race to, oh my gosh, I have to find a job and I have to find it fast. And I understand that. Some of your listeners may be listening to this and say, well, I don't have time to reflect. I mean, I've got a mortgage or rent to pay. I have a family to support and I need to do this quickly. And my encouragement for everybody is to even just simply reflect on 3 questions, which is number 1, what work gives you energy? So think about like all across your career, maybe even in your volunteer work, because I believe there's a lot of clues, career clues in the volunteer work that we do. But what are the things where you remember just being fired up, enjoying the work, and wanting more of that? Also reflecting, I guess part 2 to that number 1 question is what's the work that drains you? It could be work that you really are seen as an expert on, but it really drains you. Sometimes you know that it drains you because you procrastinate doing it or you feel like it's an obligation. Then the next question is all around what is the profile of the right kind of organization for you? What kind of values do you want that organization to have? What kind of mandate would you get behind? What kind of leader do you work best with? I find sometimes the best way to think about that quickly is imagine the best organization you were ever part of. What made it so awesome? What was it about the leader and the team specifically? And then the third question, and this one's really important because it can help you evaluate opportunities for fit or not fit, which is what are your deal breakers? I call them non negotiables, but what are those things that are so deeply important to you? You might actually walk away from an opportunity if they weren't there. So even just taking an hour out of your day to reflect on those 3 key questions, what that does is it helps you intentionally seek out opportunities that align to those 3 things, as opposed to just spraying the marketplace and taking any job that comes. So, even if you're pressured financially, my recommendation is take the first job, but commit to yourself that while you're working at that new job, you are going to do some deeper reflection and you're going to continue looking for an opportunity that's of good fit.
Wow, that was like a coaching session. Straight away. That's very interesting information. And I would like to return to the mistakes part. I can be open here because I promised that I will be open in this project. And
Yeah.
when you listed all these three mistakes, which is panic, focus on volume, and not taking the time, I made all those three because sometimes you hear it from the outside, from a friend, or your inside thoughts. I have to do, I have to do, I have to
Wow.
do something. This something moment makes you feel like you're doing. And if you're just thinking, you're feeling, well, I'm procrastinating then. And I really do admit that I did have some panic moments and I did have this advice. So apply at least 100 per week to get, yes. And it was draining. It was, how am I going to find a job when I have to apply 100? I don't like all of those 100. And this
Exactly.
is where exactly I started this project because I felt it has to have fun.
One of the things I hear a lot from job seekers is they feel uncomfortable talking to other people about their job search because, especially if they're wanting to do something different and they don't know what that is yet, they don't want people to ask. So, but you can use those questions as a way of answering that question. So, when people say, well, tell me what you're looking for, you can say, you know what? I'm at a point in my career where I'm exploring new possibilities, and I'm not entirely sure what that new direction is. But here's what I do know: I want to do this kind of work. This kind of work is the work that gives you energy. And I want to work for this kind of organization. Well, that's the profile of the organization that you want to work with. So there is a way to actually leverage those initial reflection questions and turn it into your response to tell me what you want to do next. That becomes a way to empower yourself to be able to have these conversations. But here's the thing, Gia, you ready? You're sitting down because I'm going to share something. I'm going to surprise you. I'm going to surprise everybody. So, if you think of a job search like a pie or a cake or something delicious, take a piece of that and that's the online search. So, online searching and applying for jobs is only 20% of the total 100% of your job search. The remaining 80% has to do with actually talking to people. So,
No way.
I know. Are you surprised by that?
Totally. Totally. I would never think about it. I'm
Yeah.
actually happy because in this project, one of the topics will be networking. And now you're telling me that it's 80% and that I
Yeah.
should maybe do 2 episodes about it?
It's it's such a big topic. There's a lot to unpack with that too. And it's something that I find people get turned off by. They're hesitant to. Some people will say, "Oh, networking is just for extroverts." Like somebody who enjoys talking to people. Well, they must love networking. You know what? It doesn't always work for somebody with an extroverted interpersonal style because sometimes extroverts want to talk about themselves a lot. And in a networking conversation, you're actually looking to learn about the other person, about their organization, about how you might fit in. Somebody with an introverted interpersonal style, with the right preparation and the right messaging, and I firmly believe in having a plan for networking, like get everything ready in advance. Don't just go and start doing it. You can one on one, you can learn a lot from somebody in a conversation. And I just think of networking as research through conversation. The thing is, a lot of jobs are not online. If you're only looking online, you're only scratching the surface. You are really only getting 20% of those opportunities. 80% you're missing.
That's interesting. And because that brings us to the other topic, and it's also connected to networking, the confidence piece. It affects so many of us. And even to start a networking, you need a big confidence in yourself to approach a person and say, hey, well, look.
Absolutely. One of the things that I see, and this is not exclusively for women, but I do find maybe a higher tendency for women is to feel a sense of imposter syndrome to a degree. Like, I'm not qualified for these jobs. I'm looking at the criteria, and there's a bunch of things I don't have. Therefore, my skills aren't needed, and I'm never going to find a job. And when we jump into, I'm going to call it the rabbit hole of rumination, like we jump in, we just ruminate, we start dwelling on these things. It doesn't serve us well in a job search. If you're not qualified for that job, there's probably 10 other jobs you are qualified for. It's just a matter of finding them. I mean, there's a couple of things. One is making sure that your resume and LinkedIn profile do tell the right career story about you. And the career story needs to focus on achievements. And I don't just mean where there's numbers, like I helped to increase sales by 10% or something like that. It could be something more qualitative that doesn't have a number behind it. Like through my work, I and delivering presentations in the community, I help to elevate the visibility of my organization and create awareness around programs and services that it offers. There's no numbers there, but there's positive impacts. And maybe for somebody who's been out of the workforce for a number of years, they've forgotten about all those things, they've lost touch with them. One of the things that I'll recommend to those individuals is ask people. Like, go back to people you worked with and just ask them two questions. What would be one example of a time where I offered value or I did something that had a positive impact? And why was that impactful? And I offer that as a suggestion because sometimes we're surprised when we talk to other people and they're feeding back value that we didn't even think that we offered. But it's a way of helping us tell our story. It's a way of building our confidence to hear about what examples of things are that we've done that maybe we forgot about or we just didn't think it was impactful. But here's the reality, and this I'll use as my backdoor way of getting to the value. If somebody really can't pinpoint their achievements, I'll say, let's say that you were a poor performer, that you did not do your job well. So, what were some of the negative impacts that would result from that? So if you take anything that you did, what if you didn't do that thing well? What would happen? Oh, well, like a client would be angry or they might leave the organization or all those things. So then I say, so just flip it around. So because you didn't do that, you were good at your job. You delivered really exceptional customer service. You helped to retain customers. You helped to keep them there. You helped to make them satisfied. That's your value. So sometimes just going through the back door and thinking, what if I didn't do that well, can be a way to just figure out what happens when you did do it well.
Wait, so let's pause for a second and digest here. So you are saying that I could go to my past employers and ask them what I did good? You know why I would never do that? Because I was always sure that if I go there, I will hear all the wrong things I did. And I'm not sure if I'm ready to hear all those wrong things. Okay, and then I can challenge even you. I can give you this one situation I had, and maybe you can help me to turn it around. How could I
Sure.
see it positively? So I was working in this advertising agency as an account manager, and I had to prepare marketing campaign with the creative people. And the day when all marketing campaigns went out was the day when I went for the holidays. And for that day, I decided, well, I will switch off my phones and I'm going on holidays. The next day, I put on my phone back. I saw like 100 missed phone calls. And I found out that I made a certain mistake in that campaign. And the client had to take everything down 2 days later. and they had negative impact on their brand and their budget, and I lost my job.
Yeah.
And that's the worst what I could remember from that time. My confidence was low. I couldn't even think. I was shaking. So how about this kind of situation? How to turn it over? Because it still impacts me.
If we reflect on the negativity of the situation, we're just going to spiral and we're going to be deep in that rabbit hole of rumination. Here's the other reality is we're all human and we all make mistakes. In fact, that's why that's an interview question. Talk about an error that you made and what did you do about it? They're less concerned about what happened and more concerned about how did you respond to it. And so that's where I would go for you in that situation is what did you learn from that situation that has influenced how you show up with other employers?
Well, first of all, I learned to say I'm sorry because at that moment, other employees had to clean my mess while I was on holidays. It was also a huge new thing for me to say I'm sorry. And of course, I learned as well to double check before you go to holiday.
There you go. Those are the positive outcomes of a negative situation because it's changed your work a little bit, like you'll double check. It has helped you realize the impact of teamwork. So, even just you realizing that. So, if we go back to the intentionality of a job search, remember those three questions we talked about earlier, right? The work that gives you energy, the profile of the right organization, and the non negotiables. So, what we're talking about here it tells me that, working with individuals who are going to pitch in and help coworkers, who are going to like not blame and like be supportive and all of that, that's important to you. And so when we realize what's important to us, not just in the work, but off in the organization and the people that are part of that organization, then we can intentionally seek out opportunities where we are able to find that. And so, even just right on that, in an interview, you could ask questions just about the interaction between team members. What is the level of collaboration? Like, how do team members support each other? You can make sure and assess that the next organization that you join that it employs individuals who are going to believe in that too, so that there's a lot of values alignment.
Amazing. You know what? That hearing that helps me reframe things and rethink because in your book you also talk about it that you have to reflect and see it from the positive things. And I was remembering that particular situation. I was like thinking, what is so positive? But now it completely gives the different light on it. Michelle, you work with women, right? And who successfully transition back into careers or they change their careers all the time. What do they have in common?
Some of the common, I guess, like challenges maybe I see is a bit of the imposter syndrome that I mentioned before. Not seeing that they're a fit for jobs even though they're qualified for the jobs. And sometimes that's just reframing experience. Maybe you don't have certain exact experience, but you have related experience. The other is I'm going to say a challenge with self-promotion. And I do find it is more common for women to struggle with self promotion than I see with men. And so when I'm talking about self promotion, I'm not talking about the slimy, I'm going to talk about myself all the time and I'm just going to exaggerate all the things that I'm doing. No, no, it's just about telling the facts of your career. And I would say the last one is that a number of my female clients have in common is not valuing yourself against the skills and experience that you have and not assigning the right price tag to that.
Let's do some practical game here. I'm not 100% sure what I want to do next.
Yeah.
I believe I want to proceed with content marketing, but maybe I'm just stuck in my head with this possible position. So if I were now in front of you as in your coaching session, what would you ask me to help figure that out?
That's a very big question, right? I mean, there's so many possibilities in our world where we can take our transferable skills and apply them in many different ways. I mean, One of the questions I will ask about, like what your transferable skills are. Like, what are the things that you do really well that could be portable to other types of positions, like other kinds of sectors? I might also ask you, what is waiting backstage in your life? Meaning, what is something you've always wanted to try, but you haven't tried yet? And that could be something like, I've always wanted to have an organic farm, for example. It could be something very, very different. Or it could just be, I've thought about content marketing, but like the one thing I really love doing is writing. So I'd really like a role where I can write, maybe like writing grants or, like writing some scripts for podcasts or like any of those kind of things. When we look at what are some things that maybe we've wanted to do, but we just didn't think we could do them or the timing wasn't right, those are really good things to explore as well. And then I would take your responses for those questions and your resume, and I would upload both of them to your favorite AI platform. Like I use ChatGPT, but I mean there's obviously others. And what I would ask Chat is, I am looking to explore different career paths, but I'm not really sure what the right path is for me. Please generate 6 or 7 or 10 different career options with some information about each and some reflection questions for each path that will help me make a decision on the best fit for me based on my skills and experience. Now, content marketing will probably be on the list, but there's going to be other things that you wouldn't have even considered that maybe will spark some inspiration. And how you know that you've kind of done that right is that there are some options that do give you a little bit of a lift.
I love that you're bringing new technologies in all this stage. Why not use it when it can help you? And there's lots of women who are coming from different backgrounds, different stories, and sometimes they just say, all this sounds nice, but I just need to pay the bills. And I guess AI is one of the big help. And by the way, the prompt which Michelle shared just recently, I will leave it in the description down below so that you could just take it and use it in ChatGPT. You don't have to have a premium version for that.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Love it. Love it, Michelle.
But one thing I can offer your listeners, Dee, is it's my reflective career focus framework tool. So then people don't have to, oh, I got to create this document with all my reflections. I've got it all like put it out for you. In fact, I even have a little video that goes with it that helps you complete it. It's a fillable PDF. You would just save it and then upload that with your resume to ChatGPT. And now you're talking. Makes it way easier.
That's great. Thank you very much. And I want to end this episode with something that our listeners and I can do together. Because the next week we're having another episode with building CVs and LinkedIn profiles. And I want to come into this episode already knowing what I really would like to do instead of what I should want to do. So, what would you give us at homework?
Well, I would say for you and for everybody, the two-part homework is complete the career focus framework. There's information in there that will be useful for your resume and LinkedIn session. And part 2 is upload your completed career focus framework along with your resume into ChatGPT and identify what some possible career paths are going to be.
Okay, it looks very easy to do. Will it be easy?
It will take time. And it might be hard because reflecting is hard, but it's very structured too. So that part will help.
I love that. So this week we are going to pause the job boards, skip the CV edits, and do this internal work first. I'll share also my results and reflections in the vlog on the episode next, no matter how messy it will get. Listeners, I want to hear from you. Share your ideas, share your struggles, share your comments, share your questions. Let's build this community of women who are supporting each other through this process because none of us has to figure this out alone. None of us are perfect. So, Michelle, thank you very much. I just once again repeat that your book, Cultivating Career Growth, is still possible to buy. Can you share where people can buy it?
Absolutely. So, the best place to go is right to my website. So you can sign up to get a free chapter to my book and order the whole book there. There's a contact us button on my website. You can actually just set up a complimentary 30-minute chat and would love to talk to you about your job search and where things are headed for you.
So thank you, Michelle. This was exactly what I needed to hear, and I know our listeners needed it too. Next week, we are starting building resumes and LinkedIn profiles with another expert. And until then, remember, if you're feeling uncertain about your next step, you are not behind. You're exactly where you need to be. Thank you. Have a nice day.